Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. So I wanted to find out from you guys, how many of you knew that you could actually buy your home from your landlord? As a matter of fact, my uncle, my mom, and myself, we actually did it together on the Florida house. You see, my uncle was a tenant in the two-family home. His landlord wanted to sell that property, but my uncle wasn't really ready to move. He liked it there. His issue was that he had no credit, so that's where we came in. He did have a down payment. We did add to that to help him out a little bit. And as you guys know, he lived in it for quite a while, about over 15 years, and then we recently sold it, right? So it can work out. You may say to yourself, well, you know what? Why would a landlord want to sell to a tenant as opposed to looking for a buyer outside that might offer more money? Here's the thing. A person may offer more money, but that doesn't mean that in the end you'll actually get that money, because a lot of times the money that's offered comes with certain stipulations, like a certain number of things need to be fixed. So it may end up being lower than what the offer is, okay? The other thing is that because my uncle wanted to stay there and buy the property, he didn't have to deal with the realtor. So the landlord did not have to pay, and it's normally like 6% of the purchase price. He avoided that altogether, all right? Sometimes also when you're selling a multifamily, people will come in and they'll say to you, oh, we want it free and clear of tenants, right? So that means you have to, as a landlord, alert your tenants and let them know they have to move out. And if they don't want to move out, you may have to go and evict them, which is going to cost more money. And it's going to tie you up, right? Next and finally, quick sale. Very convenient, quick and convenient. You don't have to look for buyers because the buyers are right there in the house. So that is one of the reasons, a few reasons why landlords don't mind selling to tenants. All you have to do is ask. You have not because you ask not. That's what the good book says. Okay, but let me give you some other things that is happening in my area of New York City. A lot of landlords actually passed away during COVID, and right now there is an apartment building in Brooklyn where the tenants are very much afraid because there is a private equity firm that's buying up property like crazy, especially in that area. And they're kicking people out. So the tenants are afraid that this private equity firm is going to come and snatch the building. They are also afraid, if it's not a private equity firm, that maybe a slumlord will come and take over. So they've actually approached their local representatives to find out what solutions can come of it. It's not a city-owned building, so it doesn't come with any kind of subsidy. So using the TIL program or the ANCP program or any other program that's out there, unfortunately, that will not fit. However, because of this, they are pushing something else. If you guys remember, I did a video on how in Washington, D.C., if you live in a building for a number of years, you actually have rights. It's called TOPA. You have the right to own that particular apartment. I believe it's 20 years. And you own it more or less sort of like a condo. And you just pay maintenance on it, right? Well, guess what? TOPA is now being introduced to New York. It's in Albany. It's on the desk as we speak. It's not going to be designed the same exact way Washington, D.C. has it. With it, it's part of the Tenant Opportunity Purchasing Act. So it will be similar, but they're also going to mix in some regulations from the San Francisco Community Opportunity to Purchase Act, which is another act that, again, lets tenants purchase their apartments. You see, a lot of times there are similar programs in each city, but they go by different names. And a lot of people, I find that they don't even know about it. But guys, you got to go and you have to ask. You have to ask your local representatives. You have to go to your housing departments. You got to visit HUD, right? HUD.gov. And you look there first. And if you can't find it, pick up the telephone and call somebody and have them direct your call. We have HUD and we have Housing Preservation Development right here in New York City. All right. Now, one of the reasons too, besides what happened during COVID with people dying, landlords dying all over the place, there's another reason. Recently, a building in the Bronx was bought by a new landlord back actually in 2017. It's a 21 unit building. What he did is he raised the rents and then he didn't renew the lease for some of the tenants. He claimed that some of the tenants actually skipped payments when actually the issue was that the landlord changed the address and some of those tenants up there, they were getting subsidy checks. As many of you know, first of all, the fact that he kept changing addresses, a lot of times the checks went to the wrong office. And if you guys recall, there was an issue with the post office during the time that former President Trump was in office. I believe he wanted to do some severe cutbacks or eliminate it in general. Anyway, he removed a lot of post office boxes that we had on our streets and did a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So unfortunately, this landlord paid for it. Poor communication can ruin your business for real. Anyway, so many of the tenants that were on time and paying on and what have you, they decided to form a tenants association, right? When it came to legal fees, because some of the tenants were on disability, Section 8, etc., they were able to get free legal help, free legal aid. They approached the lawyers there to fight against this new landlord that had taken over the building. Anyway, long story short, there was a nonprofit organization that agreed to buy the building from the landlord at a discount. You see, the landlord, he was tired because here in New York, eviction can take a long time. Pre-COVID, it takes a long time. And here he was, even though he bought the property in 2017, he found himself still in eviction court trying to get rid of some tenants. And unfortunately, it was like a waste of money because those tenants actually, many of them did pay. It was only a few that didn't. So because of that, he actually sold it, like I said, at a discount. And that nonprofit then turned around and sold each tenant, their apartment, forget this, $2,500. People, we are in New York City. It is very rare. The market value on most apartments in New York City has hit the $1 million mark, at least here in Harlem. The most expensive apartment in Harlem right now is $2 million. And Harlem is just across the water from the Bronx. So for them to buy their apartment for $2,500, yes, it's more expensive than Till and what have you, but that's still a good buy for people who did not rely on the government for any help. Okay? So that's why this bill is being looked into, and it's been about a year, and the tenants are still in that building doing what they need to do. Now, what are the requirements for this new bill that's supposed to be passed in New York City? By the way, these bills need your approval, so please contact your local representatives and let them know that you are for it. The requirement anyway is that the tenants of the building have to take a 12-hour class, only 80% of them. So not everybody has to take it, but 80% of the people in the building have to take the course on how to own, manage, and operate the building. Okay, so listen, even if you are not from New York, look to see if you have a similar program. And if you don't, you may want to show these examples to your local representative and let them know that it would be great to incorporate that where you live. Okay? And for those of you who are in New York, though, just so that you know, the Community Land Development Group, along with some environmental protection organizations, they're going to be having a little summit on October 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. It's going to be at 454, I believe it's West 155th Street. Anyway, they're going to have a meeting there because what's happening, why the environmentalists are teaming up with pro-housing groups is because they feel that a lot of the gentrification that has been going on has actually crippled the environment. For some of you who are not aware, but for those of you who are in New York, we experienced a lot of areas being flooded on Friday. And that's because a lot of developers have done things to Harlem, to the Bronx, to Brooklyn, Queens, etc., to these different places. They've manipulated the environment in such a way that after years and years and years of what was, the lakes, streams, and etc. that was built over, the trees and what have you that were cut down, that it changed the whole ecosystem of these particular areas. And the environmental protectionists are actually for the TOPA Act that's going to be passed in Albany. And they are scheduling some rallies and, other things that they can do to make sure this moves forward. So that's why I'm bringing this to you so that you know. If you don't live in New York, I still think that you should come to New York and attend these type of meetings. I think you should reach out to those groups. I think you should also reach out to your local groups because that's how we learn from one another. You understand? And that's how we are able to improve and make our communities a much better, safer, happier places to live. Okay? So guys, that's what I wanted to share with you. Let you know that, hey, if you like where you live and you're a tenant, you can actually buy, in some cases, just your apartment, but in other cases, you can buy the entire building. You can do it either by yourself or you can do it with the other tenants in the building. The choice is yours. All right, so that's all I have for you. Feel free to pass this amongst your friends. Remember, each one reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.